It's time for CIBL Biz Tips, bringing you actionable strategies to grow and improve your business. Prepare to become civilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? Welcome to CIBL Biz Tips, where we bring you concepts and strategies to grow your Central Illinois business. Today, we have back in the Zoom studio the owner of Jedco Sales, owner of Peace Lily Metalworks, co-host of Short Story Long podcast, and a Central Illinois gone worldwide side hustler, Andrew Dozer Dial. Welcome back to the studio, Dozer.
Yes, thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. We're pumped to dig into some more side hustling tips and tricks. In session 1, you talked about how you got started, why you got started, how you just kind of dove in and learned as you went. So in this session, let's talk a little bit about some of the tips and tricks that you have for people listening out there that may be wanting to start their side hustle, but don't know some of the questions or some of the things behind the scenes.
All right. So I kind of made a list. I got things ready for this because I didn't want to leave anything out. But my first tip would be, I guess, as you mentioned, the first one, get started. That wasn't on my list, but that's a good one. You know, just do it and jump in and you'll figure it out as you go. But another one is go legitimate. So for a while, some of the things I did, it was under the radar, didn't keep books, didn't have insurance. And I felt like I turned down a lot of opportunities because, you kind of got some imposter syndrome. You don't want to get too big and not be legitimate and get in trouble, as tax wise or insurance wise and stuff like that. So I feel like, the amount of time I was side hustling and wasn't legitimate, I was also hesitant to grow because of the consequences.
Sure.
I didn't probably subconsciously didn't want it to turn into a real business when it wasn't a real business.
Sure.
And some of those examples of it is obviously for tax reasons, you want to go legitimate. You can start writing stuff off like your electricity at your house or part of it, your internet, your cell phones. Everybody's scared to keep books and pay taxes, but you're buying this stuff anyway, and you can be legitimate, not get in trouble, and write some stuff off as business expenses. Another reason to go legitimate, I'd say, is, for like government programs. I had a buddy that was doing metal signs too, and he wasn't legitimate. And when COVID hit, they gave out PPP money.
Oh yeah.
And we got a little bit of that, but he didn't get it because technically he wasn't a business. He didn't have a tax ID number, so he missed out on that. Another thing would be if you need any business loans, financing, you need to be legitimate and have books and stuff like that. I would say, get insurance, not, shameless plug for Derek.
There we go.
I always tell Derek, or I guess Garrett too, but it's, they make it to where it's too cheap. You can't, not have it. So
there you go.
He didn't even pay me to say that.
Did he say insurance was cheap?
Well, it's like, you could insure your house for $100 a month. For $3 more a month, we can protect it against, hurricanes. Like, I live in Illinois, but you never know. Like, okay, give me the $3 a month hurricane coverage. It's too cheap not to have. So that's how they get you.
Hey, you're hired.
Yep. If you can't tell, Andrew's one of my top clients. It's easy sale.
You're a good liar. I enjoy working with Derek on the insurance stuff, but another thing I wanted to talk about. Another thing I wanted to go talk about on being legit is ordering from suppliers. So on the metal business, I was ordering metal and selling it to people who did the same thing I did. I'm a big fan of there's enough to go around, so I didn't really get like defensive and stuff on competitors. I always figure it's better to work with your competitors than to not be on speaking terms. So I would sell metal and make money to my competitors when they could have bought the same metal from the same place I was buying it for a wholesale And, like one of them didn't have the correct, paperwork, wasn't, a legitimate business. Another one, I just didn't know maybe, but that was something that stood out to me too. If you go legitimate, then, you can start buying stuff at wholesale as well.
Sure. Yep.
And then I guess my second one, everybody always worries about the haters, and that was something that was kind of in my mind too. And that's a big thing. Everybody might even overuse as haters, because like Grant Cardone says, the haters will do more advertising for you than
Yep.
the people who like you.
Yep.
But he says to watch out for the naysayers, which are people like your wife, your parents, your friends who care about you and will advise you to, not take risks, not hustle, because they care about you. They're worried about you. Most of the time, they don't understand what you're doing. I mean, try to explain to your grandparents that you're selling vintage garden tractor parts on the internet. It's just not a good conversation. You should really be putting that money in a savings account, not buying these old junk tractors. Okay, Grandpa. So, that's something I just wanted to point out too. I had a lot of people, and I worried about it too, about doing it, what people would say, and a lot of people, they don't understand. They try to advise you not to do it. And there's that saying out there, hustle until your haters ask if you're hiring.
Yep.
So
Nice.
one of my friends would always make fun of me. He called me Tractor Mafia. And, how's Tractor Mafia going? It's a big joke. And and anyway, so eventually he was like, after he's seen what I had going on, he's like, hey, I went in on this.
Yeah.
So he ended up helping me, after a little while. So I always give him a hard time about that, the hustle till your haters ask if you're hiring. And that actually did happen. So
Nice. If you hadn't have sold the tractor business stuff, that's what you could have named it, was Tractor Mafia LLC.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And someday, knowing what I know now, I think if I would have kept it, I think it would have got big as well.
Sure.
And I don't know, I sometimes daydream about going back to that because I really enjoyed it. But
Sure.
you could scale anything.
Yeah. Nice. So I got to ask, and I
that's
kind of
one
started
thing.
to ask this question in the first one. So you said you were hesitant to kind of do the tractor deal. When it came time to do the metal business or go back to Jedco, were you hesitant to do anything at this point, or were you just ready to go ahead? You'd already been scared the first time.
I wasn't. At this point, I had realized just not listen to people after listening to Gary V. He talks a lot about that. And if you start, getting into business podcasts, business books and stuff, they all talk about, don't listen to people who aren't in the position you don't want to be in. And that was kind of a big one. So
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, and when that leads me into my next one is just always be learning. So be open to new ideas. They kind of call it like paradigm shifts. One of the books I read called a paradigm shift. So, how you look at the world, changes how you operate in it. And, just like me realizing that the 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon or evening I was wasting. And, if you work 3 hours every evening and still have your weekends off, you've worked another half work week against other people.
Sure. Yeah.
And,
Yep.
I had never looked at life like that. And life is a lot about just how you look at it, the angle you look at stuff. You can look at stuff as a problem or look at it as an opportunity. So I've since, and I know Derek and probably Garrett as well, you guys are probably big fans of, business books and podcasts and, and I would definitely recommend that. So
agreed.
I would start off with like Gary V and then get into, the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That kind of gives you a different way to look at things. And and business books talk about, people do, I don't want to read a business book, but really it's a lot of the business books are just how you look at life.
Yeah.
And how you view things.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and for me, and I think try to surround yourself with those type of people. If you're curious and wanting to start something,
if you go talk to 5 guys that are not going to take a risk, I shouldn't say just guys, individuals in general, and they're all scared. Now, if somebody reached out to you now and said, hey, I've been scared, I want to talk to you. Now your perspective is going to change because you can connect that individual with more people like you, right? And you always end up acting like they say the 5 people that you hang around the most. So if you hang around 5 people that are negative all the time, that they're scared to take risk, that think they're being overworked with their 40-hour work week, that's what you're going to think. Surround yourself with some different people. It's amazing how your perspective changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the learning, I know you said always be learning. I will say for me, I guess in my insurance career, I was really interested in learning more sales until the last few years. I started reading more just business and general books, and I was never a reader before. And I've made it a point to read at least 10 pages every single morning of any book. Most of it's, business or self-improvement, that type of stuff. But I didn't realize how much I enjoyed learning about, I guess the topic of business or, building stuff. And so I think for people who don't enjoy learning, if you learn about what you enjoy, that's something that's going to help you, grow. So if you've going back to the side hustle or the business thing, if you've got an idea, learn about that, learn about building your business around that idea. And you're going to be more inspired and driven to actually pick up a book or watch a video, make sure you're learning about something that you enjoy learning about. And I think you'll find yourself, for me, a year of reading, it's harder, in 10-page increments, you don't get much, but when you look back at the year, it's like, oh my gosh, I just, I read all these books and I feel I can talk more intelligently, I guess you would say, about certain topics just because I've enjoyed reading about it. And I'd say that's a good tip is always, what was it? ABC, always be closed, always be learning.
Oh, yes, that's right. And keep an open mind. You may come across an opportunity that a lot of people would just scoff at, and if you have an open mind and you kind of, look at it from a different angle, you may see an opportunity in that as well.
Sure. Yep.
It may
be
a good idea.
Yep.
A good example of that is one of my friends had a Airbnb, and and they would never advertise it with the company Airbnb because they thought the fees were too much. Well, they ended up deciding to do that after maybe 3 or 4 years, and their vacancy rates went way down. And they said even with the fees, they made more money. And, he had said he wished he would have been more open-minded about that, from the beginning. He kind of had a closed mind on fees are too much, and he just never thought about it again.
Yeah.
And he actually said his wife is the one that talked him into doing it. And they said it's been huge. You get a lot more access to opportunities too, and resources, I guess I should say. But that was something that stuck out in my mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Another big one, it'd be get a mentor. Garrett talked about surround yourself with good people, and a mentor's good too, because Cody helped me out a lot, because CW sells used razor parts on the internet, and I was selling used tractor parts on the internet, and I owe him quite a bit for helping me, because he gave me a lot of information I did not have to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, especially on like the shipping front, hey, how should I package this? So, you want to package it like that. Don't ever package it like this. I shipped something in a flat rate envelope one time, and it was ripped open and gone. They just got an empty envelope. He's like,
geez.
I could have told you not to ship that in an envelope. It's just, stuff like that. And, he was a big help on that.
Nice. That is good.
And like I say, these are more, these are tips if you already have a business, or even if you're hustling. This is just kind of overall, but it does help to hustle.
Yeah.
And going back to, always be learning and the open mind. There's a big difference between working somewhere and owning it, I noticed too. So originally when I was working at Jedco, the only care I had was selling. And then you go start your own business, and all of a sudden your HR, your your marketing, you're the salesman, you're production manager, you're everything. You're the janitor, you're cleaning the toilets, and it's a lot. It's a lot when you go out on your own, and it's overwhelming. So it's really good to, I would say, always be learning about that kind of stuff to help kind of shift your mental state. And another thing would be, I started like going to the gym and working out because, they say that helps, the word out there is like mental toughness.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And you definitely need a lot of that when you go out on your own, because it's like, say, when I quit and started doing the metal thing daily, I was like, what did I do? Like, what did I do? And, you got to kind of be tough sometimes to get through it. You hear all these people talk about side hustling, how great it is, but it does have its moments. And sometimes you have more of the tough moments than the good moments. But
Yeah.
so, working out, making yourself work out is, the mental toughness thing. Like Andy Frisella has a bunch of podcasts on mental toughness, and I listen to a lot of Andy, and that it makes a lot of sense. The main thing he talked about, I don't even know the voice in your mind. I won't say what he actually calls it, but the voice in your mind is the biggest thing you fight, because I should probably hire somebody. Oh no, the economy is going to go down. You can't afford them. What if you get slow? You'll talk yourself out of something before somebody else will.
Mhm.
So it's, really good to recognize that and decide if you're actually have legitimate concerns, or if you're just being scared, I guess.
Yeah.
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 Yep,
Joe Rogan
agreed.
is another one that talks about the working out a lot, as far as if you get up and do it in the morning like that, nobody wants to get up and work out. And he's like, all these people on social media that work out, that put their videos, he goes, I can tell you they don't want to get up to work out either, but it's doing that one thing in the morning that you don't want to do. And then it makes everything else easier, because you already accomplished one thing. You didn't want to work out and you did it, right? So it just makes the rest of the day easier because you've accomplished something.
Right. And
Yep.
it's, and it's about doing things need to be done. And that's a lot of life, and a lot of business is doing things you don't want to do, but they have to be done.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So one other tip I have real quick too is, once you get in your business, I found myself possibly addicted to side hustling. So you start getting your own business, and then you want to do something else to side hustle. And I would just, once you get into what you're doing and you're working for yourself, I'd recommend maybe you definitely still want to hustle, but maybe not side hustle yourself.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of, once you get into it, focus is a big deal. And, when I was doing the metal thing, I still tried to buy a tractor here and there. And it's, you're leaving work to go get a tractor because it's a deal. And you're like, well, maybe this is not a good idea. So that's something I would tell people to watch out for, because once you get into it, it may be hard to kind of turn it off. And like say, you definitely always want to be hustling. Just try not to maybe side hustle yourself.
Side hustle to side hustle.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm possibly guilty of it. So I just figured I'd give a heads up on that.
There you go. Live and learn. Nice. Well, that's a pretty good
Yeah,
lineup of tips.
That's about all I got. So.
Okay. Well, I'd say if someone didn't take anything from this one, then they don't have a pulse. So we'll
Tons of nuggets.
A few last things, Dozer. So we mentioned in your intro, you are a co-host of the Short Story Long podcast, and you talk a little bit about hustling on the podcast. Tell us a little bit about that and where they can find you.
So my friend Sam and I started a podcast as his idea, but our mission statement is to share the work and play of Midwestern millennials.
Okay.
So we talk a lot about, we're kind of car guys, but he's a salesman, I'm a salesman. We do side hustle and stuff. So we have some episodes on, Jeeps and Razors and muscle cars. We have a couple episodes on like how to buy and sell stuff off of Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, cool.
Just kind of a mixture between, knowledge and entertainment, I suppose. So you can find us. He's got us about everywhere.
Cool.
I think we're on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. There's another one he said we just got on, so it's out there quite a bit. So it's the short story long.
Nice.
Just
like it.
because, yep, Sam's known for turning a short story into a really long story. So that's what we went with.
Nice.
I like the name.
So before we jump off of here, Dozer, any last piece of advice, if you could go back in time and, tell your younger self something to you now, or you as you're wanting to jump into something, what would you tell yourself and what would you tell the followers?
So if I had to go back and just talk to myself or anybody who's just getting out of college or just getting out of high school, would be hustle in your 20s. I know a lot of
Nice.
people like to party and have fun, and you can still do that. But when you're in your 20s, you got more energy. You don't have children to be responsible. Well, some people might, but like me, I didn't have kids for part of my 20s. I had some friends. I'm fortunate to have quite a few successful friends, and they did hustle in their 20s, and they're, notably farther ahead of me and will be, for the rest of their life, probably, as long as they don't, something bad doesn't happen. And that's maybe one of my biggest regrets and advice I would give is, hustle while you're young and you have energy and less responsibility, when you're younger, and just hit it hard. Then when you get to your, late 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe you're not staying up till midnight every night.
Nice. I like
But,
it.
and I'd also say, the big thing is if you're later in life, 40, 50, 60, even 70, it is not too late to start either. So
Perfect.
didn't the Colonel Sanders started KFC chicken in his 70s. So
That and if you've ever tasted the chicken, he did the right thing.
It was worth
that's
it.
right.
Nice. So if anybody wants to learn more about your businesses that are still going, so Jedco and Peace Lily, where can they find information about those two businesses?
So Jedco is jedcosales.com, and we are on Facebook as well. And then Peace Lily is peacelilyonline.com, and that is on Facebook as well. And then we've since kind of started getting into the LinkedIn game. So
There we go.
Nice.
There we go.
Me and my wife, Laren, and some of our people at work are on LinkedIn as well.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care.
Yep. For all you
Thank
listeners,
you.
make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on your favorite podcast platform. While you're there, please give us a quick review. You can find us on social media as well, mainly LinkedIn and Facebook. You can connect with Garrett and I personally there as well. Until next time, y'all been civilized. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.